Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Pearls of Parmadice. My name is Courtney and I'm coming to you from Parma, Ohio, where I live with my husband Mason and all of our yarn. Today is a very cold day in Parmadice. It's 14 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill of 2 below zero, which is quite chilly and the perfect weather for cuddling up with some knitting and knitwear and sitting here and chatting with you. So if you'd like, feel free to grab something to drink or something to knit on or work on, and let's have a little bit of time together chatting about our knitting and other fiber crafts. So, obviously the elephant in the room, I have finished the Cozy Up Knits MKAL for 2023. I have another finished object to share with you, but spoiler alert, I guess, if you didn't want to see this, you've already seen it on me. They've released it on their podcast. The end of the pattern was released last Sunday, so I don't feel too bad about wearing it here. If I spoiled it for you, I'm sorry, but then look away before I open it all the way up. Just wanted to get that out of the way. And yeah, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about. I have this guy, I have another finished object, and I have a few whips, and I have ventured into the realm of a new to me fiber craft. So I'm really excited to share all of that with you today, as well as some of my future plans and other knitting and crafting things. So let's get right into it. Oop. If you haven't been here before, I do have a little preview thing on my phone that makes the phone go dark after 2 minutes, and then I can't see what I'm showing to you. So I apologize for that. And one housekeeping thing. And welcome. Oh my goodness. Welcome if you are new here, and welcome back if you are a returning viewer. I so appreciate your support and your comments and getting to interact with you. So thanks so much for being here and thanks for watching. But if you have watched previously, any of my previous episodes except the last one, you know I typically do not edit my videos, or at least I did not. And for episode 14, I did learn how to do some very little, very light editing. So if you have watched that and you have opinions one way or the other on whether I should continue to do that, please let me know. I'd love to know if it was helpful for you or if you think things were just fine the way they were before. It does take a little bit more time for me to edit and put things like pattern names up on the screen. And I don't have a lot of time at home to do that. As a lot of you who are returning probably know, I do work full-time outside the home at a public library. So I am gone from my home an awful lot. So that being said, I may not edit every time. I may do this some of the time when I feel like it, or when I have some extra hours to do it. But let me know if that's something you'd like to see more of or something that you would like to see go by the wayside. I don't know if I will edit this one or not. We shall see. The couple of people that gave me feedback gave me very mixed feedback, so I'm not really sure what you guys think. So let me know. Okay, the moment we have all been waiting all January for. This guy. Oh my goodness. So this is the Cozy Up Knits Mini Me Mystery Knit Along 2023. And one thing I try to do if you're new here, I try to explain things for people who maybe aren't familiar with knitting or familiar with the internet knitting culture. Because when I started watching podcasts and getting into the culture aspect of knitting a couple of years ago, people used acronyms and lingo, and I didn't know what any of it meant, and sometimes it took a really long time to figure it out. So if you're new here, an MKAL, which is spelled MKAL, stands for Mystery Knit Along. So in this pattern, I knew it was going to be a shawl, but I didn't know anything else about it other than the materials that I needed. And over the course of 5 weeks, portions of the pattern were released as clues. So you would knit clue 1, and then when 2 came out, you'd knit clue 2. Oh, my preview went away again. Come on, stay on. And so on and so forth until you had completed the pattern at the end of 5 weeks. And it's knit along because many other people are knitting the same thing at the same time, and it's a lot of fun. So like I said, this one, the last clue came out last Sunday, so it is mostly over. I think you can still complete for prizes, I think for another week or 2. So if you've already started it, or you are a really fast knitter and you've considered starting it, you might be able to make it in time for prizes. I usually don't. I usually am not able to keep up, but this time I was, and I'm so excited. I finished it with lots of time to spare. So without further ado, I am going to take this off and show it. So this was knit with all fingering weight yarn, and look at that. Hold it closer so that you guys can kind of see. So all fingering weight yarn, this was part of an advent calendar from 2021 by the dyer HanaMadeIt. I don't believe she dyes yarn anymore, but I love her yarn. I've been holding on to a lot of it because I love it so much. And like I said, I think she quit dyeing about a year ago from what I can tell. So it's time to use it. And I just love this. I love it so much. These are, if you've been around, these are not typical colors for me. I tend to stick with a lot of cool colors and bright, bright, bright neons. So this was a lovely exercise in trying something new, trying some new colors. As far as the stitches went, I don't think there were any stitches that were new to me or techniques that were new to me this time. But I used colors that were really outside of my wheelhouse, except for these couple of very neon sections here. Those are very, very me. But I love how it came out. It's perfect, I think, for springtime, late winter. This bottom part reminds me of Easter. And I just love how this turned out. So like I said, this was from the 2021 HanaMadeIt Advent. It was themed, the theme was Never Ending Story, the movie. And I've only seen it a couple of times, so I couldn't tell you exactly the names of all of these colors. I do know my main color was called the Nothing. One of the yellows was Racing Snail. I think this one. This one was Bastion. One of these was Why Don't You Do What You Dream? And I don't remember the other colors, but it is also a completely reversible shawl, which was really fun. There's one stitch, this button stitch, that on one side, ooh, it's really hard to show you guys and hold this. Okay. On one side, you see it on this color and not on this color. You just get kind of a reverse stockinette. And then if you flip it, you get the effect with the color switch. So I really liked that it's reversible. It blocked out so beautifully, and I love it. This thing is absolutely massive and just such a lovely shawl. So even if you don't want to do this as a mystery knit along, I would highly recommend this pattern. I think it'd be really pretty with some rainbow mini skeins. I had considered doing rainbow minis, but I love how this came out. Just kind of something different for me. And I did not do any color planning on this either, except for the border. So that's another thing. I just reached in my bag every time it was time to add in a new mini skein, and whatever I pulled out is what got added in, except for the border. Once I got to the border portion, I had 2 mini skeins left, and I looked at both of them and decided this was the one I wanted to use. The pattern does call for 10 minis. I only used 9. The other one I decided, especially being at the end, just wouldn't be very cohesive with the rest of the piece. So I left it off and did a short border, and I bound off in my main color just to give it a little pop of something extra. So those were the only modifications I made. I don't think I modified anything else. But like I said, that is the Cozy Up Knits Mini Me MKAL 2023. And I am so pleased with this. So that is my first finished object. My second finished object, you all are probably going to be so happy that this is finished, because you all have been hearing about this. I bought the yarn at Wool Gathering in September, and I think I have mentioned these on every or almost every episode since. And I do not know why in the world these took so long for me to finish. But my Rye Light socks are finally done. They were supposed to be an autumnal equinox cast on, and I considered them that, but I did end up casting them on a little bit late. The yarn is, I think, the Field Sock Base by Ashen Bumble, and the colorway is Autumnal Equinox. And this was a sock set. Like I said, I picked it up at Wool Gathering, and this pattern is by Tin Can Knits. There is a, I believe, worsted weight version that's just the rye sock, and this is the fingering weight rye light version. So it's got this garter panel running down the top of the foot. It had you do a stockinette stitch heel, flap and gusset, which I'll talk about my thoughts on that in a second. And yeah, knit cuff down, which is how I knit most of my socks. So things I like. These fit me well. I love the color of the yarn. I really like this textured garter panel here in the front. I really like them overall. There are a couple of things that for me personally, I didn't like in this pattern. And I think on somebody else's leg and foot, these might work totally differently, and you might love it. The pattern, and I knit these exactly to pattern. The pattern had you do 1x1 ribbing at the cuff, which is not my preferred sock cuff ribbing, but I decided I wanted to try it anyways, just to see how I felt about it. I usually prefer a 2x2, and after knitting this, I can confirm I really prefer a 2x2 ribbed cuff. And what that means, if you're new, it means you knit 2 stitches and then purl 2 stitches all the way around. 1x1 would be knitting 1 stitch and purling the next stitch, and then knitting the next stitch and purling the next stitch, and so on. So I didn't love that. And I knit my socks on a US size 1.5, and which is what the pattern called for in the sock. And then it had you do the cuff in US size 1. And you wouldn't think a half size would be a big deal, but it really was. They are really tight around my calf. And now I have not tried them on since they've been washed. So I'm hoping it relaxed maybe just a little. I do have more athletic calves. So it is harder for me when socks go this high, which this is quite a long leg, to get them to fit comfortably at the top. They just tend to be a little tight on my legs. So I think if I knit this pattern again, I would just knit the whole thing in size 1.5 instead of dropping down. Let's see. The stocking heel was also not my favorite. I think I just really prefer a slip stitch heel or an eye of partridge heel. That being said, it does fit my foot really well. And I typically wear Birkenstock clogs, so the back of my heel isn't really rubbing against anything. So I'm not worried about wear and tear on the heel like some people might, or you might if you were wearing these in boots or tennis shoes. But I don't know, I don't like the look of it quite as much as I would have liked a slip stitch heel. But I decided to give it a try, and I'm not totally opposed to doing that again because it does fit my foot so well, but it just wasn't my favorite. So they're done. I am very excited to wear them. I think they're just beautiful. I love these speckles with the plum, and this is coming up very accurate on camera. Maybe in person might be slightly darker, like there, but it's pretty accurate. Overall, I would still recommend this pattern to especially a beginning sock knitter, somebody who hasn't knit a lot of socks. And I'm glad I tried the techniques in here just to see what I thought. So again, these are the Rye Light socks by Tin Can Knits. And if you are a beginner knitter or someone who just likes really simple patterns, easy to follow patterns, or you're new to certain techniques or certain items, I would highly recommend checking their patterns out. They are really well written. They often have diagrams, good explanations, and are just timeless, simple, classic styles. So if you haven't checked out Tin Can Knits, definitely would recommend doing that. Okay, those are my finished objects. I got so much knitting done in the last couple of weeks. I felt like the week before, the 2 weeks prior to the last podcast, I didn't feel like I accomplished much at all. And the last 2 weeks more than made up for it. So between finishing both of those things, which on the socks, I had just had to knit the second foot and toe. But on this, I remember where I was. I had knit all of that in the last couple weeks from like here on, which, I mean, that's a lot of stitches. That was a ton. So anyways, I had knit a lot on this. And then I also had initially forgotten to put a progress keeper in this after the last podcast. So I know I got more done on this than it looks like because I remembered to pop a progress keeper in last night. These are just vanilla socks, which just means a plain sock pattern. I prefer to knit my socks cuff down on a US 1.5, which I said 2x2 ribbing, slip stitch, heel, flap, and gusset. And that's what I have. So you might remember these are just plain vanilla socks. And last night, my husband and I went to one of our local libraries. I'm really fortunate to work at a library outside of my city. And then we live within less than 5 minutes of 2 other libraries. So we went to a program at one of those. and I knit on my sock. And come on, don't be shy. I have my Ursula Progress Keeper on here. And I got about an inch done last night during that program. I was probably closer to here at my last podcast. I know I got quite a bit done on these since you last saw them. And the black yarn is Knit Picks Stroll in the colorway black. Very creative. And this yarn here is by Fangirl Fibers. It was part of her 2022 Disney Yarn Club. And this was the colorway Prince Ali Ababwa. So Aladdin inspired. I don't have any Aladdin Progress Keepers, so we went with Ursula. And that's what we have there. So nothing super special. Like I said, just my vanilla sock that I always do. And there we are. If you haven't been around long, I knit a lot of socks for me last year. I knit, I think, 5 or 6 pairs, which is a lot for me. And I'm kind of hoping to get a pair done every couple of months this year as well. I would like to add to my sock collection, but socks are not my main focus this year. They really were a huge focus for me last year. This year, I'm using my socks mostly to take along with me to places like dinner out with friends, or if I have a meeting for work, or whatever, things like that, just as something to be able to knit on round and round and round. And I'm finding that that is a great way to fill in kind of the knitting cracks in my schedule and complete some socks. So this one may get a heel this week because I have a work meeting this week, and I know I will want this to knit on, and we're also doing dinner with some friends, and we have a lot of other activities next weekend, so this may be getting some love this week. We'll see. So again, just a vanilla sock, and it is living in my Evolutions bag. Again, if you're new here, we are big into Pokemon, big into Disney over here. Love doing themed things as well, but this is my Evolutions bag, and it's by Fate's Thread. So, and that's a newer bag my husband got me for Christmas. And we'll go with my other smaller work in progress. So I talked about my 2022 autumnal equinox cast on. Let's talk about my 2022 winter solstice cast on. So it's living in my little Star Wars bag by, I think, Unknown Surroundings. That sounds right. And you guys saw this. I think you've seen this a couple of times, but I really put work into it this past week. And it's just flying off my needles. So this is the Emerald Turban. I don't know if it's just called Emerald Turban. I think it is, but it's a headband by Claire Montgomerie out of her book Knitting Vintage. And this is more yarn by HanaMadeIt in her colorway Something Blue on her Dangerous DK base. And if you're new to knitting, fingering is a much finer yarn than a DK. DK is a little bit thicker, which is why this has knit up so quickly. And I have my little S'mores Hot Cocoa Progress Keeper on by Simply Serving. I love her charms. Her little polymer clay charms are so cute. So I was here the last time I showed it to you, and I have more than doubled it. I think about tripled it since my last podcast. So that's very exciting. I would really love to have this done sometime soon. Basically, it's knitting a strip, and then the pattern kind of tells you how to twist and sew it to make a cool turban kind of style head wrap. So looking forward to getting this completed. Definitely going to get this done before my spring equinox cast on here in another, 6 weeks-ish? About 6 weeks? This will be done before then. So I think my plan for this, because we all know, well, maybe not we all know, I don't typically swatch for things. As in, I have swatched maybe like 3 times ever. I don't enjoy swatching, and I usually can figure out how things are going. But anyways, this one, I didn't swatch, but it is superwash merino. And superwash merino does tend to stretch and grow when you wash it and block it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit this strip until it's a couple inches shy, maybe an inch or 2. Yeah, somewhere in there, shy of what the finished pattern calls for. Then I'm going to put it on waste yarn, soak it, block it, and see how much it grows. Then if I need to knit more, I can knit more. If I need to rip back, I can rip back. And I'm kind of hoping maybe it'll just be perfect and I won't have to do any of that and I can bind it off and move on. But we'll see. That's kind of my plan. I don't want to have it end up too loose, and I do have a little bit of a smaller head, so I won't need extra fabric. So I think that's about all I have to say about this. I was very excited to get a lot done, but it doesn't look very exciting at this point. Yeah, so that's what we have there. So again, that is a pattern from the book, Knitting Vintage by Claire Montgomerie. I want to say it's in the 40s section in there. She has several, I think she starts with the 20s and has 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think 80s is where she stops. And she has some inspired patterns by each decade in her book. It's really a fun book. It is not a very size inclusive book, which I did not know before I bought it. I bought it used. But she does have a lot of great accessories and things like that in there that anyone could wear and knit. So I'm going to put this away. And yeah, there we go. My last work in progress is, I can't believe how much I got done on this. I'm just going to show you guys because I can't believe how much I got done on this project in the last couple of weeks. So this is living in this project bag by JNJ Craft Co. And I've ordered several bags from them. I think in the past I said I didn't know where I got this from because my husband got it for me. My husband did get it for me, but the label's right inside. So I don't know. Anyways, and I've bought bags from them before. My Ranunculus. Y'all, look at this. Look at this. If you follow me on Instagram, I did post a little, I'm taking part in Fiberwary. Let me just say that. If you don't know, Fiberwary is a challenge in February for fiber crafters and knitters and crocheters and makers to post fiber themed things every day. And there's a different prompt every day. So I'm trying to keep up. This is, I think, my 3rd year doing it. And I always do. I'm so bad at keeping up. But we'll see. So far, I have done really well with all 2 days. But you may have seen I posted yesterday a picture of me trying this on. And this is where I was last podcast. So in the past couple of weeks, I have finished the yoke, oh my goodness, why can't I not hold this? Divided for the sleeves and knit a ton on the body. This is the second ranunculus I've knit. I did knit, my very first sweater I knit for myself was a ranunculus. I knit it in a yarn that someone gave me for free that was vintage and like acrylic polyamide something blend. The yarn isn't bad. It's not bad to use those things or anything like that. But it's not my preferred material for me. And I mainly knit it in that yarn because I'd never knit a sweater before for myself. And that way, if it didn't fit or I didn't like it, I wouldn't be disappointed that I had spent a lot of money on the yarn. I spent no money on the yarn. And I loved it. I still love it. I still wear it. But I really wanted one in a material that was more pleasing to me personally. One that was in my other one's like a gray blue, which is fine. That's a color I wear. But green is my favorite color. My eyes are green. It really makes my eyes pop. And I feel most like myself when I'm wearing either neons or green. This is the perfect shade of green. It's 100% wool. This is Kelbourne Woolens Scout. It is a DK weight. If you're not familiar with the Ranunculus pattern, which is by Midori Hirose, it is, I think, the most, if not the most, one of the most knit patterns on Ravelry. Which, if you're not familiar with Ravelry, Ravelry.com is a website for knitters and crocheters. Part social media, part a pattern website, part project journal. It's great. I know that there are some accessibility issues for some people with that. So I do, if possible, if I know where a pattern is in more places than just Ravelry, I do always, and I don't think I do try to link everything down below. My Instagram, Ravelry, and Pokemon Go friend codes is also down below. But anyways, I do try to link other places you can get patterns if possible, if I know that it exists and where they are for people to whom Ravelry is inaccessible. But anyways, one of the most knit patterns maybe ever. And it's great. When I knit it as my first sweater, it was very easy to follow. My friend Mac and I are having a knit along with this sweater. This is her first sweater ever. I had knit some baby sweaters and child-size sweaters before I knit a sweater for myself. So I had a little bit of a background in it, but this is her first ever sweater. And she is finding this pattern very accessible, very easy to follow. So if you have never knit a sweater and you're wanting to try, this is a great pattern to try it on. You can knit it in all kinds of weights of yarn. It looks really good on every body and every body type. And I think that that's so important in a pattern. It's quite size inclusive. I just love it. I am knitting this on size 9 needles, which is not the recommended needle in the pattern. I believe size US 9. And I believe it calls for a size US 10. But I had 9s. I knit my first one in 9s. And I prefer the gauge that I was getting with a size 9. So I sized down a needle, and then I'm knitting a size 6 in the pattern sizes, which should give me a decent amount of ease. Again, I didn't swatch, but I did pick a size that was slightly larger than what I really wanted since I had sized down that needle, and I tend to be a little bit tighter of a knitter anyways. And by tight knitters and loose knitters, Tighter knitters just tend to pull their yarn a little bit tighter and have a little tighter tension when they're knitting. Looser knitters just don't pull their yarn quite as tight when they're knitting. Neither one is good or bad or anything. It's just all neutral. It's just your unique to you gauge. And knowing if you're a tight knitter or a loose knitter or somewhere in the middle, it's just good information for you when you're trying to determine things like a needle size and stuff like that. But anyways, I am so completely obsessed with this sweater. I love how it's coming out, and I have a crazy ambitious goal. Crazy ambitious. I don't know. I almost feel like I'm jinxing myself by putting this out on the internet, but I'm going to do it. So in my last episode, I talked about a knitting show that's coming up here, or yarn show, Fiber Expo. It's called Wild and Woolly, and it's at the Cuyahoga County Fairgrounds in Berea, Ohio, which is just a stone's throw away from my house. I go every year. I'm very excited. It's next Saturday, and I don't know if I can do it or not, but my goal is to be wearing this at Wild and Woolly. That is the goal. So let's talk about what needs to happen, because that would be future plans, and I think we're about there. So I did try this on last night very quickly as we were heading out the door to go to the library program. And I decided I want maybe 3 to 4 more inches on the body. So I had this progress keeper denoting where I was last time, and I do not remember where I got this progress keeper. I've had it a couple of years, but I thought it went perfectly with this sweater. And then after I tried it on, I popped this little Simply Serving, turn around. None of my progress keepers want to turn today. And that's where I was when I tried it on. So that way I know where I want to knit inches from. So here is my goal. So ambitious. Today I want to finish the body. I would like to get 3 to 4 more inches done in stockinette in the round. I have opted to I'm going to modify a little bit the pattern and do a split hem on this one. I just like how sweaters that I have lay on me with a split hem. The pattern calls for you to do it in the round. This is just my own modification. So, and I'm going to do high-low hem. So my front ribbing, I'm going to make a touch shorter than the back ribbing. I just like that look on me. So my goal is finish the body today, finish the front hem tomorrow, Sunday, knit the back hem. And then Monday and Tuesday, knit my first sleeve, Wednesday, Thursday, knit my second sleeve, blocker Friday, wear it Saturday. Can we do it? I don't know. But we'll see. This is the goal. We shall see. But, I mean, I really got most of this done this past week. So, I feel like this is doable, right? I am doing the long sleeves. I'm going to do them written as they are in the pattern. My other one is a short sleeve, but I really want a long sleeve version. It's doable. Possible. Probable? I don't know about probable, but it is possible, and we will see. So that is, I think, going to be my main focus for this week. And if you go back last podcast, I shared about my WIP bingo board, which is hosted by Fangirl Fibers and Yarnaceous. You can check them out over on Instagram, get your own board, make one. And my first WIP to finish was this one. So I have one thing crossed off. My Ranunculus is the second one. And once that Ranunculus is done, I talked about it last week, I want to really, really, really work hard on my husband's vest. I really want to get that done for him for our wedding anniversary in April. I would like to have it done by the end of March, or at least done to the point that I just have to put the zipper in, because I think that may take me a little while. So those, I think, are going to be my two big focuses over the next few weeks. And that's what I have in future plans. I don't have a lot else. I have tunnel vision right now with that Ranunculus and getting it done. So we'll see how that goes. Stash additions. So I did tease at the beginning that I hesitate to even say started, because I really haven't started, but I am delving into a new to me fiber craft, and that is sewing. I've done a little bit of hand sewing, but I have never sewn on a machine. Last weekend, though, my husband and I set up a table, which was an entire ordeal that I will not bore you with the story right now, but it was a whole ordeal. And I got out my new to me sewing machine. It was my mom's. She didn't use it. So it's from the mid 90s, maybe around 90, 94, 95, somewhere in there. And so she gave it to me a couple months ago, and it's been in the box. So last weekend, I got it out, I put it on the table, I plugged it in, made sure that it's running. It runs like it's 1994, it runs super smooth. That's as far as I got. I didn't thread it. I don't know how to do that. My friend Mac is going to help me with that this evening, hopefully. But I watched some YouTube videos and I found my first project. So we went to Joann's the other night, my husband and I. It was weird. You know, if you're Joann's, if you're from another country that's not the US, I don't know that they have any locations outside of the US. They might, but their headquarters are actually right here in Northeast Ohio. And it's a chain craft store. If you are familiar with Michael's, it's very similar to that. So how Joann's is set up, you walk in the door, and kind of one side of the store, my Joann's is set up where the left side of the store is mostly like fabric and sewing and those kinds of things. And then the right side of the store is sort of everything else. Your yarn, your cake decorating, your planner stuff, your scrapbooking, diamond art, all of that tends to be on that side. And then there's sort of this whole side that's dedicated to sewing and fiber and stuff. Like, not fiber, because yarn is fiber. Y'all know what I mean. So I rarely venture over to that left side of the store. Usually it's more like I go to the right and venture to the clearance section and then just go out, you know, head out that side of the store. But this time, in a very strange to me turn of events, we went to the left side and I bought supplies for a sewing project. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had my shopping list. I looked so lost. I felt more lost than I ever do in a craft store. But I bought stuff and hopefully I will be making some placemats here soon. And let me know, are you guys interested in hearing about my sewing journey? Are you really only interested in the knitting? I don't know. I like hearing about I love knitting. That's my first primary love. And I love watching knitting podcasts that do a lot of knitting. But I really like when they sprinkle in other crafts that they're working on too. I think that's just really fun. And sometimes they're new to me crafts that I haven't heard of or don't know much about. So anyway, let me know. Are you interested in that or not so much? So I bought the placemats I'm going to do are extremely basic, very simple placemats. And you use 2 different fabrics, one for the front side, one for the back. So I think they're going to be reversible. So I bought this lemon print for the back and this lemon print for the front. And I think these will be really cute together. Lemons are my favorite fruit, always have been, always will be. I love cooking with lemon. I love lemon desserts and baking with lemon. And I also like just eating lemons. I'm a little weird like that. I love lemons. So that's what I'm planning to do with this. And then my husband picked out some, be careful, Stellina. She's fallen down. This is our mascot, Stellina. You can hear about her in my last episode if you're interested. My husband picked out some Christmas fabric. It was marked way, way down. So I'm hoping to make some Christmas placemats too and put those away for next year. And I love this fabric. So this is the first fabric he bought. It's got little trailers and little like vintage cars and the vintage red truck with the tree. But the trailer was the thing that got me on this one. So I think that will be the front. And then, I'll go this side. These Christmas trees, this like forest with cardinals. And you can't really see on the screen, but this fabric is sparkly. My husband does not like glitter, but he bought glitter fabric. So I didn't tell him it was glitter till we got home. Anyway, so those are my other placemat fabrics. And then I went over to the remnants, and this feels more like it's like a knit fabric, so more of an apparel kind of fabric. But I got this for $1.12. It's a large piece of material, and it's so cute. It's got these little mice with picnic baskets and bees and jam, and I thought this was just the cutest thing. And for $1.12, you can't go wrong. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to put this aside for a time when I have some ideas to what I'm doing with sewing. So those are my stash additions. I bought some other things that are like sewing tools and yeah, those I'm not going to show. If you're really interested, maybe at some point I'll talk about that once I know more about what they are and what you do with them. And I also bought some beading tools. Oh, this is future plans too. Okay, well, whatever. I bought some beading tools and I've ordered some beads for Marley Bird's game day knit along, which is next Sunday in relation with the big football game here in the US. American football, not everyone else's football. So she is doing a mystery knit along. She does one every big game day, every February. And you get a clue every couple of hours. And I am one of her testers, not for this, but generally one of her testers and sample knitters. So I have seen a little bit of a preview. And all I can say is It is going to be so much fun, something different, and I know I'm going to be learning some new things with this. It involves beads, and I've never knit with beads or done anything like that as far as beading goes. So I am very, very intrigued, very excited, and I've got most of my materials. I have one thing that's been sitting in Texas for a few days. We'll see. I hope it starts moving soon and gets here in time. But I have that ready to go as well. So lots of new tools, lots of new to me techniques coming, new to me crafting. So that is something to look forward to and something pretty exciting. Life update. We'll go with life update next. It's February. We made it through all 300 days of January. January felt very, very long. Not a lot has happened the last couple of weeks. My husband and I went on a little breakfast date last Saturday and went for a little winter hike, and that was lovely. We went bowling with my family on Saturday. I think that's all I have there. Upcoming life update. Tomorrow evening, we're getting together for dinner with some friends. And then Sunday is Pokemon Go Community Day. The featured Pokemon is Noibat. So I think we're going to go with my brother over to the zoo, which is not very far from us, and we have a membership, to walk around and do that. If you'll pardon me, I'm going to get some water. The air is very dry. It's been very cold for a long time. The air is just so dry. I think that's all we have this weekend. And then, of course, next weekend, next Friday night, I have knit night with the girls. And Saturday is Wild and Woolly, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see some old friends and maybe make some new ones. If you are going to be at Wild and Woolly and you see me there, please stop me. Please say hi. I would love to meet you. My husband will be there with me. And yeah, I'm just really excited. Not entirely sure what I'm going and looking for. I know I need to get yarn for a sweater for a baby niece that's due to arrive this summer. I think that's about all that I need to get. We'll see what else comes home with me. And we are hopefully going to go to lunch, have a little lunch date on Saturday. Then we're going to a little wine and paint night at a local coffee shop winery place near us. It's a couples night, and the painting is you each do half of a Lady and the Tramp painting. So I'm very excited for us to do that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And of course it's Disney, so very excited. And then of course Sunday is my game day make-along and snacks and the puppy bowl, which is on Animal Planet, and it's basically a couple hours of super cute puppies running around in a fake football stadium. It's like my favorite thing. It's so good. I think that's what I have going on in the next couple of weeks. Until then, I will be here knitting in my little corner of paradise. And I hope that you can find a little time to knit in your corner of paradise. And that's all I've got, folks. So have a great rest of your day or evening, and happy knitting. I'll see you again soon. Bye.